Tertúlia. Good afternoon, everybody. Today is January 23, 2011, Sunday. The entry today is the 1818, 4 pages, 42 ologies, 11 maxima. The theme is the fixation on the profitable. Self-evolutiology. Definition. The fixation on the profitable is the lucid conscience general will, intention, determination, self-criterion, and personal behavior, overridingly and inseparably fixed on the evolutionary, interassistential, cosmoethically profitable manifestations and procedures. The evolutionary gains on the fixation of a cosmoethical holothosene. The cultivation of a mental posture anchored in the nexus thocenity. The construction of a pro-evolutionary personal holothosenic mold. The fixation of the lucid conscience in the evolutionary profitable actions. The more intelligent make of focusing according to time, chronemics, space, prosemics, constant renovation, resexology, and physical age, chronology. The priorization of the overriding regarding higher self-discernment. The living neophilia with permanent self-lucidity. In parafactology, the mega-euphorization maintaining the growing intensification of the laborious self-motivation in the execution of the existential program. The endeavor to fix the evolutionary extrapolationisms. We highlight 5 entries in remissiology. Acceleration of the personal history, leading edge self-positioning, fixation, the intrusionist geopolitics, politics, lifelong eradication in the cognopolis. The emphatic sentence. The personal procedure on the fixation of the evolutionary profitable potentializes the dynamization of the evolution of the lucid conscience, man or woman, avoiding misunderstandings, mistakes, and omissions. Do you, reader, already use the technique of the permanent and overriding fixation on the most profitable and interassistential? Since when? Question. Will I be able to expand my parapsychism with more cosmoethics if I finish with selfishness? Yes, sure. Is getting rid of laziness the self-sacrifice? Sure. Are assistentiality and penta the best way to get rid of the ego? Sure. I don't need to say indeed, right? Could you comment on the diversified team? Is your team extended now? Even in your dissidence, there were people who had specific tasks and who are still part of the team, right? Yeah, sure. Dalva is coming here next month. She's been in our team for over 60 years. Relating to maxi dissidents, the creation of successors is one of the components? Yes, depends. It's part of the work. Mostly if the maxi dissident was doing something serious. In the mini dissidents, the other people will do the rest. We cannot leave the place, the job, without having another person instead. That's the point. These are only part of techniques necessary for evolution? Sure, perfect. You are going to understand now the evolutionary group. Pay attention to that. This girl is a very good one. That's it. Abnegation overcomes the conditions of intraphysical organization. That's it. She's right. Pay attention to that. When I left the spiritual movement, it's been around 50 years. I came back there many times, and I was checking people working and doing the things I was doing there. So this is the maxi dissidence, looking back to what happened. It's like the person who is already in college and comes back to the primary school to visit. It's part of the work. I know Conscienciology since 1995, and I would like an opinion. I live with my brother who had panic syndrome, but then he went to the bar and had drinks. I feel he has grotesque companies, and they might be intruders. Yes, they are intruders. I guarantee. Trust me. It's intrusion. He doesn't get better. It's been 1 year already. Well, he needs to go to some kind of rehab for alcoholics so he can spend there months and even a year. Do I have any kind of compromise to live with somebody like that? No, you don't need to give up. Insist. Talk to him about this rehab. Can this be a problem to my penta? No, this will help. Connect everything to your assistance. Do not leave anything. All this is part of penta. I am 40 years and I have never traveled by plane because I'm afraid. My family wants me, and I also want to have my first trip. What do you think about the planes? Well, I think it's great. I've traveled a lot. I've traveled more than Antonio, probably, who was a flight attendant. I did more than he did. I started traveling in 1952 by plane. It wasn't in 52 because I was flying internally here. At that time, Constellation was created. Constellation, Concorde, all these planes I've traveled on. There was this serious case that your friend came to me and told me, Waldo, weren't you using your guides? You are flying too much. You know who she is, right? Lady Filia. She came to me and told that, and I told her, no, it's okay. I'm doing what it has to be done. I've never abused of anything. It's serious. But Waldo, you're always here in São Paulo. You have a house in Rio, another one in São Paulo. And I told him, yeah, that's the work. I'm working. I'm doing assistance. She knew I was working there. It's a serious thing. I told her that, and she said, okay, if you are okay about that. But she came there to me and told me that you are abusing your guides, asking them too much. Now, to tell you, I have two serious points for you. First, you are a big coward. You need to finish with that. You need to, shame on you, you need to be ashamed of yourself. Second, you need to find an airplane and sit close to the restroom. Do I need to explain? No? This is the way. And I've treated many people who have done that and followed my instruction. The plane didn't fall, and they had to fly a lot. Everything went okay. I have another question for you. Do you need to fly? If you need to fly, it's even more serious. He's 40 years old. That's a shame. But you are a sincere coward. There are people who would never say that. He would avoid that the most, a lot. I know somebody who is over 100 years and have never flown. I've known many like that. And I also want to tell you that I've traveled for over 70 years. I was young when I started, and I had trips to São Paulo, to universities, and all that. And I usually flew there. I want to tell you that I had some little or small en route accidents. I'm not talking about the one we were here for over 1 hour over Foz do Iguaçu and people thought the plane was going to fall. But there was this one situation that I had to land on this cow or bull's land road. There was a problem with the engine, and we had to land there. Nobody got hurt, and nothing happened. And there's this other situation that Chico Xavier went on this trip, and Chico was worried. He said, "Are we still going there?" Yeah, and there was almost anybody in the airplane. And I came there with Chico. Another situation was that I was going to enter the airplane, and I noticed there was something strange by the door. Then I came back and I left. I didn't go there. I don't know what happened there. Something happened with the airplane, but nobody was hurt. So all these things happened to me. Yeah, September 11 was obvious. We went there and we had a lot of energy to help, but 6 hours later, all that happened. However, the weather was nice, got nicer. I wonder why, if the weather hadn't got better, what would have happened? So, we need to trust the airplane. If you don't do too much of abuse, everything is okay. After I started doing the vibrational states, all women are behind me everywhere. Even here in Minas Gerais, they are desperate. And I am doing the vibrational states to encapsulate. And the point is that many of these women are single mothers. Could you talk about that, of the negative points for the pro-axis with these women? Well, if you want to do penta, try to find a dual, an evolutionary dual. Stop doing that, being promiscuous. This is bad for you. This is a sample of what is going to happen to you. He needs to organize his life now. He can't be promiscuous. Even in Minas Gerais, it's even worse. In Belo Horizonte, once They needed 200,000 single men, single people. And they were there everywhere, on the streets, only women. In restaurants, you would see only women there. I saw that. Then this came up on the newspaper. So, Minas Gerais is serious. People are desperate. What's your point of view on Emmanuel's productions? Is it true that bad spirits are forbidden to reincarnate since the year 2000? Oh, come on. No, that's the opposite. I don't know about Emmanuel, but I know is what the real basis is, the extra-physical reurbanization. Waldo, B, here, on this theme, once you told me about the maximum number of activities somebody can do not to have dispersion. How many activities can somebody have not to have the dispersion syndrome? Well, you don't need to work too much to have a lot of activities. Yeah, but you said something about 3 activities, right? 3, right? Yeah, depends. Who has already studied about that? You need to talk about that. Apex needs to talk about that. Would 3 be okay? I think it's very serious to say 3, 4, because depends on the derivation of the tasks. The problem is if you have different kinds of tasks. Yeah, I'm talking about different tasks that are not converging. Well, actually, you need to have one that is more open, more ample. The most important is, what are the results of that? You need to have a lot of self-criticism to conclude, to have these conclusions. If there are concrete results, that's what is important. Question. Usually, during or after Penta, I see faces that people I don't know. Yesterday, I saw Abraham Lincoln's face. He was looking at me. His eyes opened. And can you tell me what happened? I also feel the itching in my body. Well, this Abraham Lincoln thing, it says nothing. It's nothing because extraphysically many consexes have this kind of beard. And the itching probably has to do with ectoplasmy. Yeah, and she said that he was there looking at her. Yeah, this is clairvoyance. There is clairvoyance and ectoplasmy. And I want to tell you now about the first meeting of the Encyclopedia Friends. It's going to be on March 8th, Bourbon Hotel, at 8 p.m. in Foz do Iguaçu. For the ones who are the Encyclopedia Friends, you are all invited. Waldo, people are going to have the drinks and the food for free. Yeah, so it was wrong here. But it's not alcoholic drinks, okay? So, people are going to be thirsty there, right? They are going to drink only water. Yeah, water and soda. And we have a limited number of people. It's going to be at most 160 people, okay? All right. This is very nice. It's going to be after Carnival, right? Could you explain the attributology? Because you talked about the predominance of extrasensorial perceptions. What do you want to fix here? Well, I think it's very hard for somebody to study this theme without parapsychism. It's very hard to understand this very well without that. It's the extrasensorial perceptions. There's no way here. Waldo, in factology, the third line from bottom to top, the discovery of the most advantageous self-evolutionary niche to the multi-existential self-baggage. What is the best way? People are going to have more profits with their self-efforts. What are you going to give about your self-efforts? It's not for you. It's what you do for others. So this is assistance, right? Yeah, that's the foundation, interassistentiality. The real fixation of the evolutionary profitable is interassistance. But is this connected to the vocations of people? Well, it's more connected to a research, a prospection, a deepened research of oneself. Are they using the aids they have received? Is there any kind of idleness? This is serious idleness. So that's the basis, the foundation. So you need to study efficiency too, right? Well, there's another point. You cannot do that only once in a lifetime. It's important to study this new evolutionary moment. How am I? Can I be the way I am, or do I have to make some changes? Administrative changes, politics changes, so they can see the results of the efforts. In Remisiology, last page, you talk about the first entry, the acceleration of the personal history. And I've seen that there has been many facts these days in Cognopolis. Are we having this acceleration in the last months? Well, sometimes there are some moments of jumping or leaps. There are some periods that everything is more developed. For example, the beginning of this year, we've been having more people here, more than the other years. It's been 1 month already that many people has been here, has traveled here. Even I don't know what goes on. Most of these days, we've seen over 100 people here. And we are almost at the end of January, right? Yeah. But, for example, the mega-authorization is one point here. We've done that with lucidity to attract people. And this point here there has been many consecutive personalities coming here. Many different kinds of work. These things are getting bigger. Yeah, and pay attention to the maxima, the scores from CEAEC, from IIPC, from IAC. Everything is growing. Look at IACs. It's incredible. IIPCs, look at it. And ours too here. It's growing. I think that we are going to have 1 million knowledge artifacts in the next 2 years. This will demand more space for us. We are going to have a lot of trouble about that. It's going to be bad, hard to build warehouses like Americans do, like the banks do, to put things there. I think we are going to do that. But if we are going to do this, we are going to do something very simple and safe. I've seen that in São Paulo. It's a way. It's a small construction to achieve a bigger construction. Professor, page 15, crescendum. Could you talk about the geometric crescendum? What have you received from what you... What have you done from what you received in your life? In the evolutionary point, do you think it's good to maintain that, or it can be changed? Since you are very young, you need to write these things and study them with the time. You have a short time. All the perspectives must be short-term because of the time. But that's it. Did you understand what we mean by these processes of the geometric crescendum, the growth of evolutionary dividends, and the fixation on the profitable? You are in the short term yet. You need to study it, the medium term, the long term. Who has the microphone? Anybody else?
Waldo.
Aqui, ó.
Here.
Aqui, ó.
Here.
Fazer uma pergunta. Eu tenho feito
I have a question. I've been doing the vibrational state, and I can perceive the energies and the chakras. And I practiced for a long time the yoga techniques. And I could not perceive the kundalini to be activated. Is it possible? Yes, everything is possible. It depends on the kundalini situation or your sex chakra. Before the working with the energies, you have to see what was before the work with the energies and what was the result later. I tested the vibrational states with a lot of different ways, and it was very potentialized. You know, when you deal a lot or you work with your sex chakra, you have to take care of the intrusion. So I could perceive the vibrational state to be installed, and I perceived a very powerful energy. Well, take note of everything and analyze what's going to happen. Everything is possible. So, are you having a good feeding? Are you eating healthily? You have to reinforce what you eat. Otherwise, you are not going to get better. I have a clinic eye. Okay, Waldo. Thank you. Could you talk about in pathology, first page? The fifth line backwards. The exercise of contextual intelligence applied to self-evolution. This is, let me see, when you have intelligence of everything that occurs with you in the evolutionary point, evolutionary moment. How is it happening now, here and now, in the evolutionary moment? What is your contextual intelligence regarding this time? So the base of the fixation on the profitable depends on this. The exercise of contextual intelligence applied to the self-evolution. This is the synthesis of the process. Is there a connection with the perspective? Yes, because if you see and you understand what's going on today, you know what's going to happen tomorrow. That's what I call here and now. Exactly now. It's good for you to think about it. It's a way. Who else has the microphone? Nobody? Something serious that I'm talking about here, the permanent recycling through the conscienciogram, the intraconsciencial recycling through the conscienciogram. So, for example, you take a look to the conscienciogram and you are going to be the guinea pig consciousness. They are going to tell you that you are good in something, or this and that, and then you are going to plan your future by analyzing these points. So, you put some action in this planning. So, this is one is terrible, the permanent intraconsciencial recycling through the conscienciogram. I trust in you guys. Professor, within the volunteering work, what a volunteer has to observe within the institution, consciential-centric institutions, in order to avoid dispersion? Yeah, well, the volunteer has to see if he is connected to the group. So if this guy as a mini-cog is connected with the rest of the group, you know, the volunteer justifies itself because of the group. I would say that it's justified because of the results of the person. So the work is secondary. Everything is secondary. What really matters are the results. These results are the balance. What do you want? In numerology, last line. The line before. The fixation of proexogenic infrastructure. It's more than the residence, isn't it?
Infraestrutura para o exogênio. O caso todo é o seguinte.
Well, here we have the idea that it's necessary to analyze the existential program. So the person sometimes can't build all those things suddenly. So the person has to program his or her life and conclude that programmation 2 or 3 decades later. So the person has to observe the long-term projects. I would say the very long-term program. Sometimes the very long term is related to several decades of life of this person. Here in pathology, 4th line backwards, discovering the discovery of the evolutionary point more profitable to the multi-existential self-background. Well, I think John, Arlindo has this answer. We have talked about that before. What I want you to talk about is because I think most of the people I know take secondary tasks and not the main task because of the moment and the contextual intelligence. Could you elaborate about that? What do you have to say about that?
A descoberta do filão,
the discovery of the evolutionary point is that is related to the personal effort, and you have to also to take into account the receivings and the balance, the gains that you have related to this. So we also have the conscientiometric prospection and try to avoid the idle things. People don't know how to apply the efforts, so it's very important to put the background all working under all the possibilities, over all the possibilities. And when the person doesn't perceive that his or her talents are conducive to a specific line, so this person never gets any achievement. Well, you have to face this calmly. And the person has to have an agreement with his or herself and establish some points. So in terms of group, when the person has the talents and she doesn't see that, you have to show the truth to the person. I think in those cases, more you are frank with the person to expose the situation is better. Sometimes it's necessary to apply the impactotherapy. Sometimes we have results with that. Sometimes we see some insatisfaction. So the person is working with something called almost the task, not the task itself. So I had a case some time ago that I told someone about that, and after some months the person came back and told me that all the things were changed. Sometimes we need to know the way, where, when, where to approach
Agora, eu quando entro na história, eu já entro assim para
with the person. But, you know, when I get into a situation like that, I really want to help.
Eu dou sempre mais valor para o amparador do outro, e não ao amparador
So
dele.
there is also a helper between us,
Então,
and
essas coisas todas eu acho que
I
tem
listen to the other's helper.
franqueza,
So
sinceridade.
we have to be frank and sincere.
Pouco possível.
We have to expose everything that is possible.
Quando se fala em fixação do rentável,
When you talk about the fixation on the profitable,
É o que rende
we are talking about interassistentiality.
a consciência que consegue se concentrar
So for those who can concentrate it in this task 24 hours a day, this person could be a desperto.
partir da TENEPS.
No, I think it's after the
TENEPS,
Penta.
muita gente ainda não percebeu isso.
or from the
Ela
Penta.
organiza a vida
So
do
Penta organized the Penta practitioner's life
organiza dentro de nível
and organize
que aquilo vai ficar
within
pra sempre,
a level that is going to last forever.
sabe? O critério,
It
a
modifies the
política,
criteria,
a tendência
the
da pessoa.
the tendency of this person.
Então o processo é TENEPS.
So the process is Penta. After that, the extraphysical clinic, and after that, the desperticity. So we have the 24 hours
Você
Penta.
vai chegar lá no FIEC.
So you have to achieve that condition.
A dispersidade está aí também. Logo em seguida.
Isto a gente falando intrafisicamente.
Intraphysically,
Intrafisicamente é só na condição de
talking
Olha,
is just in the condition of desperto. You know, this process,
deixe de casar as dimensões.
in this process you have
As
to
dimensões têm que ser
think about
casadas,
dimensions.
intrafisicamente.
And the dimensions must be
Ela é
connected
casada nas dimensões.
because your consciousness is connected with dimensions. You are here as Adélio,
Você é uma
but you are an extra-physical consciousness.
se leva em consideração.
So you have to take this into
Agora, na
account.
questão da
But
fixação do evolutivamente rentável, veja,
in the fixation on the profitable, this is the base of
agora,
everything.
onde é que você mostra mais inteligência? Qualquer um.
Where do you show more intelligence?
Evolutivamente rentável.
It is
Quer
in
ver
the
se a pessoa
fixation,
entende? O que você está fazendo?
in the
Não precisa perguntar aquilo, né?
evolutionary
Diga,
profitable.
eu te direi quem és. Não. Me fale, o que é que você dedica a maior parte das suas
If you
energias,
tell me what to
das suas
do,
oportunidades,
how you
vamos
dedicate
dizer,
your
o seu
time
acervo
and
de
your
potenciais.
potentialities, I'm going to tell you
que é por isso
who
que
you
esse
are.
crescimento é
It's more
exponencial.
intelligent.
Você começa a fixar no rentável, rende mais. começa a
So
ter mais
that's
esforço.
why this is a development. You start by fixating in the profitable, and that gives you even more profitable results.
E eu desafio vocês.
I challenge
um
you.
assunto mais importante do que esse aqui.
Who here
Nunca
studies
encontrei um que tivesse
a
falado
subject
anterior a isso.
more important than this one?
Com isso,
I
eu não
have
quero
never
dizer que eu sou
found
mais
anyone.
inteligente que vocês, mas eu
It doesn't mean
tenho
that I am
uma série
more
de
intelligent than you.
inteligência melhor para abordar as coisas do que a de vocês.
But sometimes I have a
Eu
better
estou abordando
intelligence
temas que são mais prioritários.
than you because of my approach.
Não me interessa se antes eu era assim ou se mais tarde.
It doesn't
eu
matter what I was
Hoje, quem
before,
ganha sou eu.
but nowadays
Isso
I am
respondi.
winning.
É irrefutável.
It's
é inconclusivo. Não
unrefutable.
tem saída.
There is no way out.
Agora, eu lembro de uma vez que lá no
But
Índio
I
tinha
remember
uma pessoa,
once
acho que era
there
um desses
was
países da América Latina,
a person from
tinha um deles.
an American Latin country. He was a scientist, and he started tell me everything that he was doing. And then I told him, oh, that's great, but it's not important for humanity. So let's see. This process, in terms of concept of intelligence. It's necessary to evaluate the details of the facts, to see the concepts of intelligence in the priority point of view. Think about it. The book, Evolutionary Inversion, Existential Inversion, they talk about evolutionary due, and they recommend to buy magazines and films, pornographic magazines and films. Isn't it a baratospheric thing? Yes, indirectly it is. But it's the same thing when we eat meat. We don't leave this condition right now. So it's important for the Jew to see those pornographic things, because they have to know what's going on. If they don't do that in front of the other person, they can do that, on the internet. So, as the time goes by, people are going to leave those kinds of magazines. I don't deal with that anymore. What is the personal signal that make us to be sure that we are sheltered? Well, if everybody has fault and you didn't, so you are sheltered. You have your body closed. We have a lot of different expressions for that. The person is untouchable, unattackable. If there is a specific personal signal, so the self-sheltering depends on the will. Yes, it is. Is there a gesture that you do in some pictures that you are with your arms crossed? Well, I used to do that because I wanted to show that I was holding the energy, I was encapsulated or sheltered. So I was with the intention of showing that there was something alterated in terms of energy there. I want to explain something. By the time that I do like this, what do? You are blocking your cardio chakra. So that shows the closeness. Sometimes I used to do that, and I used to show that there was something wrong. And people used to take pictures of that, and I could analyze later. So if someone does like this, you have to observe and understand about energy. I've been writing about that for half a century. Another question, why we can't consider the results of the theory of dynamic systems in Conscienciology? Well, we are in favor with all the theory, but we are not going to waste time with the process of the electronautic. This is my case. I don't want to waste my time with that. The parapsychology, third and fourth line. The fixer of the useful para-routines. What is the most important thing related to that? You have to see in the para-perceptibility
em matéria de evolução e assistência.
What
Você vai por aí. O que você faz
have you
hoje que é o melhor
been
que você faz? Parapsicamente.
evolving related to parapsychism? What can you do better nowadays?
É isso aí que você tem que entrar com a rotina extrafísica.
So you have to create
intensamente.
an extra physical routine
Eu, por
with
exemplo, eu
intensivity.
descobri que o meu processo interassistencial
Well, I found out that my interstitial process was very serious, and I've been working with that so far.
trabalhando assim só com concepção de ideias, redação de texto.
So even when I work just with conception of ideas and elaboration of text, I always use that. Well, last night I had thing. In the morning I woke up and I wanted to know about what were the courses that were taking place here. And then you can see everything is even more calm nowadays.
O nosso caso,
So in our case,
mais aqui, por exemplo,
we would
caso em geral.
consider Penta, for example, in general. It depends on the person. Penta would be, even the Penta can be more specific. You have to see what's going on in your process of Penta. You have to analyze what occurs, what is more important in your Penta. Here we have to analyze the details. But if you saw something really important, you have to dedicate yourself to that. To dedicate yourself to a more important thing with consciousness, better for you. Well, in the evolutionary scale, the Penta practitioner, when he mastered the Penta, what is the top of this condition? What the guy masters in this condition? Well, it's the effectiveness, the competence, the development within the Penta work, the daily practice. So the Penta 24 hours Penta, what is the percentage of assistance that he has? I don't know, and even the guy is not going to know about that. You have to see what he's doing and where he works better. But we don't have to analyze things in terms of percentage. Let it be. The process is like this. Let's go ahead. Waldo here, letter A. Have you seen a case that someone who has more than one life with the same name? More than one life with the same name. Yes, sometimes it happens. Sometimes there is a family and they have, the guy is born in the same family and the family puts the same name for the grandfather, the father, and the grandson. And sometimes it happens with this person. You talked about the fixation of the proexogenic infrastructure. Is it related to the proexogenic residence? Well, in this part, I never put everything, but we try to approach those ideas. Professor? Here, on page 15, phenomenology, could you elaborate on the evolutionary trinomial priority evolutionary trinomial, fixation in the strong traits, extinction of weak traits, and acquisition of the new traits. So in this part, the person fixes in the strong traits, and the person eliminates the weak traits, and by doing that, this person starts to make an acquisition of what is missing, and everything starts to get better with the person. In terms of parapsychism, associationality, the contact with the helpers, and this person opens all the ways. This is the consciential openness. This trinomium is real. There are people who have this condition. So when the person gets to this point, the person gets the vibrational state, the voltaic arc, vibrational state, voltaic arc, the intraphysical euphoria, the energetic spring, and extrapolationism. Those 5 things occurs at the same time, together with this situation. It can be before, or during, or even later. So the person feels well, but there are people who start feeling things like that, and the person becomes afraid of, move herself, because he or she doesn't want to waste that condition. A situation better like this is impossible, so let me stay here. That's what the person thinks. And what happens more here is the intraphysical euphoria. Do you understand?
Waldo, aqui, ó.
Waldo here, me again.
Seguinte, eu estava lendo outro dia em respeito do
So I was thinking,
em relação ao
or reading,
chakra, né?
about the daily sex.
No caso da ejaculação,
So, in terms of circulation of energy, it was necessary to have the ejaculation. So my question is, why don't retain this ejaculation and produce more energy? You don't have to use the sex energy just for, the desperate situations when you have a very bad intrusion. So you don't have to use this process of Tantra, Kama Sutra, and all those things are foolish, and it has intrusion. There's a case I'm going to tell you. There was a guy. He was in love with his fiancée, and in the wedding day, he had an attack, and she had an attack, and she died. And sometimes she used to appear to her. She used it to appear to him. And he was like in need of, yet another person because of his work and his profession. So he told me that he could not forget her. And then I told him that I was perceiving that someone was about to show up, and he was supposed to, at the right time, he was supposed to think about of his former fiancée. So the fiancée would exteriorize the energy, to pass the energy to the new one. And the new girl would be more attractive for you, and it happened. So they had a very nice honeymoon and they had kids, and they are very happy with that. So I taught him that the first relations that sexual relation that he had with the new woman, he could perceive the energy of his fiancée. So the new one was even more beautiful than the first one, even more sexy. So he was the one who was crazy. Nobody around him was disturbed. The dead fiancé was not disturbed, and the new girl was okay.
Então, por exemplo, você está me comentando, não fazer mínimo conhecimento do que se passava. Claro que eu tenho conhecimento extrafísico.
Well, in the Orientalism, they don't speak about intrusion. Yeah, you need to study sexology. Everybody needs to do it. If you want to study energies, assistance, you need to study sexology. You cannot do things like that. We are not subhumans anymore, we are humans. So you need to study sex to get rid of it, to do the things that are really important. Okay, thanks. Here, page 15, polynomiology, the second polynomials, the polynomial convention of codes, holomnemonic fixation, cryptographed mega-consciential gestation, and retrocognitive acknowledgement. Well, what I want to know is that when we have some retrocognitions that are not very clear, they are subtle, well, you need to write them down. Let's study what you did in your life, why you came, what you came for. Go to Apex for help. Go to Conscious for help. Conscienciotherapy. And the cryptography will be easier. Yeah, I have some information. But the most important one, the most profitable one, well, the cryptograph usually doesn't have anything usual. Yeah, that's why I want this one. Yeah, that's why you need to go for help. Conscienciotherapy. It's not anything usual, common. Yeah, I'm doing all that, Professor. What I mean, for example, I know, I'm going to give an example, okay? I have a line of work with para-pedagogy, pedagogy, psychology, children, risoma, all that. But what would be more important in all that for me to discover? I'm doing all that already. Do you want me to say? Sure. Superdotation. You need to study that. Gifted studies. Gifted people. Yeah, I'm not. So I have to study only that? No, that's not what I'm saying. You need to study this among other things. Many people have studied that so far. Maybe there is something hidden that I have to find out. But you need to study about that. I'm giving you a tip. Yeah, I stopped studying that. But I'm going to resume. Well, about the extra identity, Professor, here in Cognopolis, people who had the intermissive course, do you consider that most of them have an extra identity? An extra physical identity? No, it's rare. It's more rare. Because people are going and there is the last life, which is more important, with more and many important things to achieve. So, when one starts being a mini-cog in the maxi mechanism, and this is highlighted, then that may happen. So you're saying that in most of us here will have an extra identity in next lives, right? Next intermission. Yeah, but you need to take care about that, to study that thoroughly. I'm not saying that there are not people who have extra identity here. There are some who do. But when they are in the intermission and they don't have the extra identity, well, Mero's identity was not a good one, right? The extra physical identity. So you need to be aware of that. The positive problem is the situation is when everything converges. Can you give an example of these factors? For example, all the things you're going to talk about are going to be positive. Everything is pacific, tranquil. There's nothing. There is no way to force things. So the barotrosphere is already eliminated. Question: I am new in Conscienciology, and I have bought Projectiology book, and it hasn't arrived yet. I would like you to tell me about clairvoyance and traveling clairvoyance. Well, all these processes have a more important interest, is to help people walk faster, giving value to multidimensionality. Clairvoyance helps a lot. It's more than clairvoyance. Even though it helps, right? It clarifies right away. It even creates some problems in terms of stock market. It's the so-called privileged information. This is the parapsychic perception. The person needs to know how to use that. It needs to be a cosmoethical paraperception. That's what is important in this case. But what is the interest about that? You cannot. It's priceless. A privileged information regarding something. Wow, I have seen a lot of things about that. I remember that those 6 people in the company I was working at, and these people were in front of me, and I was looking at them, and they all changed just in front of me, their faces from previous lives. And I saw that and I thought, well, I need to work much more. And you see, those 6 people who were foreigners, they were working with me there. And I saw all the processes from other lives. I could identify all these previous lives, this past. Question, I am 39 years old and I am a policeman. I have killed some people due to my job, but I want to get away from this. I would like you to talk about my responsibility with these people. Well, now you need to help others. If you are a policeman, how about working as a fireman, a rescuer? For example, you can do much more as a fireman. That's what you can do if you want to adjust to clean these things. I know somebody who did that. He changed his job to be a fireman. He was younger than you were. I guess he was 35 or something. It was the same thing. He had killed people and all that. Well, I'm doing some research on the post-somatic para-reception committee, and I would like you to help me about the material. Yeah, well, you need to look up on the encyclopedia and the books I have written. Post-somatic para-reception committee. You see, people are researching that. What? I'm doing research on the post-somatic para-reception committee. Question. I'm going to start my second graduation on psychology. I'm already graduated in computer science, and I work with that. I would like to do research in Conscienciology and take advantage of my psychology course. Can you give me some tips? Sure. You need to study the cognitive behavioral therapy. This will help you. And you need to study the Conscienciology CEAEC existential series. And you're going to find many kinds of sexual deviations that are common in many families. Well, question, I would like to know, how can I be sure if I am doing my praxis? Well, you need to do Apex courses. Yeah, you need to go to the Apex site, www.apexinternational.org. There will be a lot of information about our courses. In Carnival, next month, we are going to have some course, a special course, which will be on for 4 or 5 days. Question. People who are alike, can they have the same paragenetics, the same voice, the same... Is there a possibility about that? Well, everything's possible, but depends a lot. You need to study that. Question. I practiced Penta for 4 years, and I'm still blocked in terms of energetic paraperceptions. What do you suggest? Do I continue? Yeah, you do. You need to think about the things you have done. What have you done? The new things you have done. Is your life dynamic or not? Have you done any new recycling? You need a recycling. That's obvious. You need to go to Conscious. Well, if you are close to Foz, to CEAEC, we are going to have the TANEPSogram, which is a course, and there will be a lot of questions on Penta. It's going to be on February 26 and 27. Is it going to be in Carnival? No, no. It's good. It's good to show that. Waldo, is it possible to talk about prophylaxis of the thanatophobia in the vulgar Procerenismus? Prophylaxis of thanatophobia? What? I didn't understand. Well, regarding the Procerenismus, what's your question? I'm going to redo the question. Where does thanatophobia finishes? Well, this finishes when the person understands multidimensionality. They need to develop parapsychism anyhow. If the person doesn't have parapsychism, they will have doubts, they will need to check it out, they will have a dilemma, they will complain, and all that. To finish with thanatophobia, which is the fear of death, there is the need of parapsychism. Is it probable that the vulgar Procerenismus have thanatophobia? Yeah, this is obvious. Right?
Aqui, ó. Fazer uma pergunta. Existe consciência que permanece durante muito tempo em um lugar.
There are conscience, intraphysical consciousnesses that are always in the same place, living in the same place. And there are other conscience who want to travel, know different cultures, get to know different things. I am like that. I like to travel and know these, get to know these different things. Who evolves more? The person who is traveling or the one who is always in the same place? Well, usually there is a principle that the person who wants to work with evolution will not be traveling all life long. For example, I came here and I stopped traveling. It was all calculated. I never had an idle trip. But the person who likes to explore things and is very curious, can they be like that extraphysically? Yeah. And usually they will end up in barotrosphere. If you are sniffing around here and there, what are you sniffing around? Research, curiosity, what is the aim? What is the objective? Well, I want to know different cultures. Yeah, but there are some people who just don't change this. They are dromomaniacs. But if the conscience tends to fix in one place, will it be hard for them to visit different extraphysical communities? Well, depends. Depends a lot. The more evolved they are, more fast they think and they act. Potentials, self-development, this all matters a lot. Professor, I didn't understand when you talked about those 6 guys you saw, and that you said, oh, I must not be working a lot. I didn't understand what you say. I said I was not working a lot because they wouldn't show me all that, just like that. Since then, I started donating a lot to them, helping a lot. In the end, it was everything right. Being very straightforward here. 1 year later, I had a conclusion. that what they meant was that there was only one point to clean everything up. That was my last point, my last debt to pay with people from Portugal. I cleaned everything up. And after that, all the things that happened were in favor of me. I value these phenomena a lot. And if the singularity of the phenomena must be taken into consideration anywhere the way it is, we need to take it into consideration. It doesn't happen just like that. It's a singularity. The extraphysical, the energetic dimension changed, and I saw those guys, and they all changed at 2 p.m. in the meeting room of the company, we were all there together, and I couldn't lose track, right? I looked at everything, tried to write some things quickly, and kept on talking, and I started donating more and more. Everything that was connected to me, I would give more. And the things got broadened for me. You know, you had lives that you couldn't unite these people, and now you see all those people together, all connected, and it's incredible. And I was analyzing each one of these people, the biography of them. 6, all guys, all men who were working in that area of the company. Was one of these 6 a partner of yours? No. The problem was the others. These came with my partner. They didn't come with me. When we got together, they were my partner's connections. But it's something interesting. It was an expression, a huge expression of a paraphenomenon. Is this the CEAEC phenomena? Yes, it's one of the most advanced phenomena that there is. For example, Ernesto Bozzano, he wasn't able to go all the way to study this. It's a very serious thing. For example, here Jarbas, he is studying all that. He's studying biographies, and he's going to see things clearly. People are going to come in front of you. Waldo, these people who you have met in the meeting, when did you meet them? What time, what era, what period? Well, the period I was in Brazil. They were Portuguese, and I had been born in Brazil. It's been some centuries. I came, I came here, and I was related to Portugal. Did you die here? No, I left before I died. I came to 3 places in Brazil, and I left with a problem with my leg because they shot it. But these people in the meeting, did you have debts regarding these people? No, that's not really like that. We had a collective work in the past, and we were continuing this task. The idea was to have the end of this task well. But everybody's much better than they were. In the past, they were all using guns and all that. The places you were Rio, Recife, and Salvador? Yeah, that's it. Waldo, I know that you say that people get together because of their affinities. You're going to meet the people who have affinities. But in practice, how does this mechanism work? It's so difficult. Yeah, it's incredible, surprising how this happens. It's always a surprise. For example, Waldo, I was born in Spain, but most of my friends are here. Yeah, but it's your consciential family. There, you have your nuclear family. This is genetics. You need to see these things. But this mechanism of grouping, getting together, for example, from these 6 personalities, none of them followed my ideas on parapsychism. I never talked to them about that. This is going to be done, probably. So you imagine that. I'm going to walk and go on, and when I meet them and talk to them, and they get interested to the ideas, they're going to look back and see that they could have seen those things in the past back then. And they're going to have to cry and all that, probably. Can you imagine losing an opportunity like that for half of a millennium or even a millennium? Yeah, I'm not going to talk about you. I'm worse than that. Yeah, that's it. Waldo, last question. There is enough time to find all these people in one life. In only one life to find all the consciousnesses who had past relations, right? The life is going to lead things, connect things. There is a flow of a convergence. When I see those 6, and you know what? They are not together in the past lives. They are different in different situations. This is nonsense. It's incredible. So there were many different centuries and all that, and they were together that. And who said, you go, you come here, you go there, you come, you stay? Who did that? Who did that? It's incredible to think. Do you think there was a helper on that? Sure, of course. But Monja, the monk, the Serenissimus, was involved in that, and she told me, this is our team. That's our team. And you think that all these people next life, do you think maybe one of them will be in an intensive course? Waldo, were these 6 people conscious or consexes? These people were working with me. They were my employees. I saw this changing in front of me. When I saw that all the episodes from the past, it was so clear. What you said, How can this biography study potentialize that? Yes, it helps because it's with the time you can determine the variables which are coming.
But now, a case like this, it's absurdly hard to occur in my life. I have few situations like that. I was explaining to her, and as I told her, there was a guy who spent a day with me, and he was a case of being odd. Odd is something strange, different. So a phenomenon like this would be an odd thing. But for me, it was not so strange because I could interpret that. So, for example, this case that I've been studying about pentagonal, nowadays they have some information on the internet, and this information confirms all the things that I was thinking about. So, many years ago, there was nothing about that on the internet, but nowadays they have it. So the things are coming up. So for me, it was a very serious case. I was dealing with pentagonal. So they went here to contract you? No, yes, but I did not accept. I established some condition and they didn't agree with me. So Pentagon is a place that they are the one who say what you have to do. Even the FBI, they have no power facing the Pentagon.
Waldo?
So they didn't accept something like that from me. So you said that's something hard to happen. So from this perception, you saw that you need to help more. Is there any other extra meaning that you could perceive and you could explain to us? Well, I found out that it was an end. It was the end of something. It was the end of a level. So the condition of everyone who was there, I would pay for the last insult in that occasion. That helped a lot. Everyone. Well, also, each one of these people had a previous contact with you. Did they have affinity among them? Yes. They all had previous contact. But in this life, the interests of them were very honest, not in the previous lives. In some conditions or in some situations, I were their victims, and in this life, I was their boss. Did you understand? So it's good for me to have the chance to work with people that I met before. Oh, you said that you were doing less, or just a little. Yes, I perceived that I could give more. And by the time that I understood the range of this assistance, everything got even more clear. I did not tell anyone. It was a privileged information.
Provavelmente aí você consegue também ajudar a emergir o trabalho.
More important than everything else. I could see everything. The problem was to solve that situation the way it was. So in the previous lives you were victim. So they had a negative balance related to you. You know, I was their victim, but I was their partner. And then I was a victim at the same time. But in a condition like this, I ran away. And then I had a chance. I would say a second chance. So it was the time to help them. And then I decided to help them completely. I put everything in that assistance. So in the past you did something wrong. Yes, sometimes if you are in a place and you are not careful with the situation, you can be someone's partner, you can agree with something wrong. Sometimes when you say something they put on the internet and you are misunderstood because of that. So, I was an executive, I was the boss. I had the control in my hands to define all the process. It's better. So I'm not anymore in a condition of being a jurist. It's a better level, a more advanced level. So, nobody knew that who I was in that occasion. They had no abilities or no capacity for me to tell them the truth. So everybody was happy with the situation. As I understand, it's not a matter of being debit with them, but it's a matter of having an irresistible situation. Was it irresistible situation or irresistible assistance for you? You know, with that extra phenomenon, very serious, I amplified the assistential process with logic. And also I understood everything. It's the same when you finish a book and you understand everything at the end. So I understood everything. It was impressive. Please explain the thing that you said about not being in the condition of a jurist. You know, we have, like this case, the case of this policeman that killed before, but I was not in that condition. I was not a judge, and I was not a policeman. I was their boss, the executive responsible for them, for their activities. I had the power to decide things. So I knew everything. It's not the same condition of being a jurist. In the North Brazil, we have an example of a jurist who had a worse condition. So in his case, it was worse because of the scene, the script, and all the condition that he had. So, the difference between an honest boss and a jurist is better for the boss. And people don't understand that. But people think that the jurist is above everything. You know, I play in the 11 positions during a game. Yes, it is the fact that you not take advantage of your position. You know, I thought about that. If there was something wrong, the phenomenon wouldn't happen. You know, in the study of consecutive personalities, can we lead to a phenomenon like this? Everything that you study in terms of paraperceptuality and multidimensionality, the things get to another level. Your approaches are going to be different. Your approaches are going to be more exact. And individual, you know, you don't think more individually, but you think more about collectivity. Extra identity always leads to the collectivity. For example, my process here, observe. Sometimes I'm always within groups, evolutionary groups. I'm never alone or isolated. Pay attention, observe that. I don't have this condition. So the way here is to take everything to group karmality in order to reach the polykarmality. So by the time that we start doing things in this level, everything changes. So someone who leaves the condition of being individual to be collective, this person thinks in terms of we, ourselves. And it's not easy to deal with the condition of we or ourselves. So the person just gives the right value for the process within a group when the ego suffers a trauma with the group. So by the time that it stops, everything changes and the group starts to grow up. Facing this person, everything changes. So the trauma that created that junction must be diluted in order to start doing this process. So we have here someone who is even stronger than a jurist. Why? Because he has the capacity of determination. His verdict is more strong, or is stronger than the jurist one. So there is no use for the boss to say that he doesn't understand anything about law. So the boss doesn't need to understand about the law. He's applying the law. So as you can see, the parallelology. Here we have our friend. Can you perceive that? This is the one of his most serious things. We discussed that in Prudente de Moraes. So he was concerned about employees and the employers. So when I say that the boss is above the jurist, I mean it. You know, sometimes the toga, covers the person head.
Um problema difícil.
Sometimes it's hard.
Togado.
Someone with toga, it's not an easy condition.
Ele está bem, viu?
So he's here. He's well.
Aqui não há.
Ele está fazendo o curso dele.
He is doing the intermissive
Aqui
course.
não há, professor. O que aconteceu com esse grupo depois desse
What happened
evento, se eu tenho notícia
with this
dele?
group
Olha,
after this event? Do you know about them?
A vida toda caminhou, melhorou muito.
So, as I know, they had good lives.
A família bem encaminhada.
They have kids, and you know the kids are
Alto nível.
a new generation in a high level, and there were some of them who went back to Europe.
Depois encontrei com gente da Europa.
I met with some of them in Brazil and some of them in Europe.
Eu penso que foi uma
But I think
lavada.
it was a
Lavada, geralmente, é
cleaning,
quando o negócio é coletivo.
a washing,
Foi uma lavada
a
assistencial.
washing, an assistential washing,
Limpou tudo de uma vez.
cleaned everything.
Goleada. A lavada. Agora aqui, pergunta.
But here I have a question. Could you talk about the helper, Veronesa, and her functions or tasks here in Cognópolis? So, she is extraordinary. She's a friend of mine, and I like her very much. I just don't give gifts to her in her birthdays, but you have to ask her about her functions or her tasks here in Cognópolis. I am not the one who is going to tell you. Today, at 3 o'clock, we have the General Assembly. So they're going to talk about the results of 2010, the planning for 2011, and the election for the next committees. So we are waiting for you. Is this from the General Assembly of Discernmental? Oh, they don't say nothing here. I didn't understand anything. No, it's from CEAEC. It's the new group of CEAEC, and it's in the Discernmental. So, 3 p.m. within 44 minutes. So you have to go to the discernment to solve our problems. So as bosses, you are better than the jurists. Think about it, what you are going to do with your vote. The vote of partners. I trust in you guys. So,
obrigada. As pontuações da tertúlia de hoje foram 144 assinaturas,
144 signatures in the presence book,
18 perguntas,
presence,
online, 27 votos presenciais, 5 votos
28 online
questions,
questions,
Professor
and
Mário,
we have 4
Sobrano,
different messages today.
Romeu e Rodrigo,
facilitação
de pesquisas, Cristina Aracaki,
and Cristina Aracaki.
Eduardo e Eliana vão falar
And
sobre os
before
amigos.
that, Eduardo and Eliana is going to talk about the Encyclopedia Friends. Good afternoon. We are going to talk about the dinner on March 8th. Our objective is to clarify the Encyclopedia's Friends, that this dinner is going to be sponsored by some companies here from Foz do Iguaçu.
Para investir no jantar. Tá, okay? Essa informação é
So
fundamental
this
aí para
information is
acompanhando a nossa
fundamental
divulgação.
for those who are following our dissemination.
Aqui de aquisição dos convites,
So Eliana is going to talk about details about invitations and other information. So you are all invited for this dinner. You need to confirm your presence. And for those who live here in Foz or who are here in the spirit, look for me or Professor Fernando in the Tertúlia hall, and you can confirm the presence and get the invitation. For those who are not living here, you can confirm the presence by email or by the telephone, which is 45 35 25 26 52.
Então a gente espera que vocês
and we wait for you and your presence.
Limite de lugares para esse jantar.
And we need your confirmation because we have a limit of places.
You
know the brochure that we have, the email is incorrect.
Estamos aqui convidando
we
a
are
todos para
here
participar
for
do
inviting
programa nos dias 26
for
e
the course
27 de
Tenepsogram.
fevereiro. Quem quiser
for those
avaliar sua
who
TENEP,
want to evaluate his or her Penta, or understand a little bit more about Penta, and then to start this assistation class, we're going to have 100 questions and an energetic activity. The telephone is 45 21. The course is going to be on the discernment.
Boa tarde, eu vim falar
Good
sobre o curso Conscienciologia
I'm here to talk about the guinea pig course.
A Consciência está
The
promovendo
monthly
esse curso
course.
mensalmente
The
aqui no CEAEC.
Conscience
O
is
próximo vai
providing this
ser agora
course
no
monthly.
dia 5
The next one is going to be
de fevereiro,
on February
no sábado.
5th,
5 de
Saturday,
fevereiro, com 5 cobaia.
the
São
guinea
10
pig
vagas,
course. We have
3
10
sorteios
places,
para campo de
3
consciência
lotteries
médico do
for
Consciência cobaia.
the
O curso custa R$60. Se você já faz alguma dinâmica parapsíquica,
for those
cai
who are
para
attending the
R$40.
Dynamics, it's
E se você vem
there's a little
em março para o balanço
discount.
existencial
And for
ou para
those who
algum evento
come
no
here
CEAEC,
on
nós vamos
March,
ter esse
in March,
curso no dia 4
the
de
date is
março.
going to be
Vai ser
on March
numa
4th.
sexta-feira
It's going to be
anterior
Friday.
ao balanço
It's
existencial.
a
Sexta é
Friday
o curso,
before
sábado
the
já é o
course,
balanço
the
existencial.
existential balance
Maiores
course.
informações
For
no
further
CEAEC.
information
Obrigado.
in CEAEC reception. Thank you.
Boa tarde a todos.
Good afternoon.
Eu gostaria de divulgar com
I'd
vocês,
like
junto com o Guedes,
to
aqui,
disseminate
um
together with
programa para
Guedes
facilitação interdimensional de pesquisas da
program
Reconsciência.
of
É um
the
programa que é concebido na
Reconsciência.
forma de um corredor de atividades
It's a
de
corridor of
experimentos
activities
para a
and
pessoa, de fato,
experiments
colocar
for
em
the
prática a sua
person
pesquisa
to put in
e
practice
desenvolver,
his
de
or
fato,
her
uma pesquisa
research
multidimensional,
and
chegando
develop
à
a
concretização das suas
multidimensional
gestações conscienciais.
research.
Uma das atividades que a gente tem dentro desse programa é a facilitação individual de pesquisas, que é uma atividade bem mais ampla do que apenas uma revisão de texto. Ela inclui oportunidades para a pessoa, de fato, discutir a sua pesquisa, aprofundar em relação ao tema, vencer gargalos da sua auto-organização, da sua sustentabilidade, da sua condução da pesquisa, além de ter todo o apoio de uma equipe que vai ficar vinculada a ela durante um ano para ajudar nesse trabalho de condução e sustentação da própria pesquisa. Vou passar então para o Guedes para complementar com algumas informações a respeito do funcionamento do programa.
Pessoal, lembrando que a facilitação individual de pesquisa é apenas um dos experimentos proporcionados pelo programa de facilitação, que envolve também a revisão gráfica parapsíquica, a imersão parametodológica e o seminário parametodológico. A inscrição no programa dá direito a créditos que você pode utilizar durante um ano inteiro em qualquer uma das atividades. Tá certo? Só relembrando então que a inscrição é R$315 à vista ou em até 3 vezes de R$115. Para você fazer a inscrição pode ser pelo telefone 9993-2000, 9993-2000 ou pelo e-mail pesquisologia@gmail.com. A facilitação de pesquisa é feita aqui no discernimento mesmo, na sede da Reconsciência. Obrigado.
Boa tarde a todos. Nós gostaríamos de convidá-los para participar do acoplamentário com a temática para direito, que ocorre no próximo final de semana. Professor Felipe Mansur e eu estaremos fazendo umas abordagens, não só com relação às atividades da paradireitologia, mas também da parapoliticologia e da paradiplomacia, com base em uma mega pensênica invocabular. Para direito significa mega fraternidade. Existem poucas vagas, então os interessados devem procurar a secção CEAEC para mais informações ou para efetuar as suas inscrições. Obrigada.
Thank you.
O verbete eleito para amanhã é isogênese, especialidade politicologia. Obrigada e boa tarde a todos.
Thank you very much.